All right, thanks for watching Everyday Juggler and tuning in for our first Juggler interview with Mike Moore, also known as artifaxiom or different variations of axiom online. And thanks for agreeing to do this interview, Mike.
It's my pleasure. I like these kinds of things a lot.
Cool. Mike's from Ontario. He is a full-time student / teacher, and then juggles on the side, does a lot of stuff with his girlfriend, performs at different festivals, and also teaches at different festivals. And Mike, it looks like you've got a few records, so you mind telling us about those?
Sure. There was a time I had a few records, and now it's far fewer. I used to have the most catches of 4 balls in a minute, which was set at an IJA where they were doing a record drive, which was cool because they pay you if you set enough records or beat a record by enough. And it wasn't anything amazing. It was like 400 and a little over 400, 408 or so, and that's since been destroyed. So that's good. The record's a bit more respectable at this point.
Still got $400. That's good.
Oh, I didn't get $400, but I got like 80, I think. It was still great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was for a few records, which also included a behind the head or neck throws or shadows, depending on where you're from, endurance record, which was like 3 minutes or so. But they never posted that, so I think the record is like 2 minutes 20 seconds at this point. Alex from RIT just set that. But it's not a particularly fun record to do because it's kind of taxing, switching your neck back and forth. So someday I want to beat it blind. If it stays where it is, I've got a shot. Because I'm at my personal best with blind behind the head is like between 40 and 60. And I think I need about 200 to challenge that. So we'll see. I used to have the 3-ball blind record, and then Niels Duniker beat it just like a month ago or so. That was at 1740 something, and now it's at 1840 something or something like that.
Okay.
That record I used to beat at a lot of festivals that I went to, and when it was hovering around the 10-minute mark, it got kind of, I don't know, dicey, because at a festival, if one game goes for 10 minutes, it's kind of annoying, but at the same time, the festival gets to say, like, this record was set at our festival. So that's what kind of motivated me to do 17 plus minutes on camera so that I wouldn't hold up people's festivals anymore.
Now,
I still have...
You said that you had that record at 17 minutes and 40 seconds? 40
yeah, 17, like 42 or something.
Okay, so Niels only beat it by, less than a minute. I feel like it wouldn't take, just set up the camera and practice for a couple of hours and you'd beat it again.
Yeah, but at the same time, it would probably... I'm sure he could beat it again.
Okay.
There are a few people, like Tony Duncan could definitely challenge, if not destroy it. He had a blind act that he did for a little while, so
okay.
he's really strong in it. Lots of the big name jugglers like Wes or Haavard, though I'm pronouncing his name a little wrong. I'm sure Chris Hodge could beat it. Yeah, so that one I'm sure lots of people could beat. Which actually leads me to I think the only record I have at this point, which is 4 balls blind, and it's at 70-something catches.
Okay.
And I am practically... the previous record was like 30 or 40 catches, and I'm pretty sure that Haavard could also destroy that one, because he had the old record, except his intention wasn't to endurance it. He started a fountain and then did a few rounds of 5-3-4, went back into a fountain and collected.
Okay. Which
kind of makes me think he could take that one down pretty easily. But, oh well.
Well, if he's watching this now, he knows he's got some competition. I wanted to ask you about blind juggling because for those of you who don't know what blind juggling is, it's basically just juggling with your eyes closed. And I've tried doing this a number of times. I think like my personal best for 3 balls blind juggling is 10. So
okay.
So I'm not very good at it. I have a lot of trouble predicting where the balls are going to be, and I think I'm consistent with my eyes open. I've also tried to run with my eyes closed on a treadmill. Have you ever tried that?
No, not on a treadmill. That sounds horrifying.
Because it seems like I run a lot. Like, I run races all the time, and I'm like, all right, I got this down. Like, this is something I've done a million times. Then you close your eyes, and the next thing you know, you're off the treadmill.
Yeah.
I don't recommend trying it. But what are some tips for learning to juggle blind?
Now, some people ask me that, and it's tough because I started taking blind fairly seriously in about my 3rd year of juggling, and I was really excited about it. And I practiced for about a week or so, and got to like, I don't know, 30 seconds or something like that. And then I shelved it. And by the time I came back to it, it was feeling really solid. So I don't know if I have any good advice on it, because my method was really put it away until you're very comfortable with juggling.
Right.
5 years or so.
Okay.
And
so it just kind of came to you once you'd been juggling for a long time.
Yeah, especially with fast stuff. When I started doing fast stuff, it got to the point where I couldn't really use my eyes to track certain parts of the pattern. Lots of box stuff, I can't really track the 2x. I focus on the 4s, and the 2x's are pretty solid. I mean, it's not too hard to throw. So you kind of, when you do a lot of box stuff, your hands feel kind of linked. And I think that really helped, actually.
Okay.
So maybe work on fast box stuff.
One of the things I was thinking about as I've tried to do it is trying to predict, like, not rely on the fact that I'm just going to throw the ball consistently, because that's never going to happen no matter how good I am, but understanding the trajectory of the ball based on how it felt when it left my hand. So kind of thinking of both hands opposed to just where it's supposed to land. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, that's a really big help. There's probably, I'll say, like 3 stages of blind juggling skill that I've experienced anyway. Maybe there are more beyond that. When you're throwing pretty consistently, that's stage 1. When you're throwing consistently but notice when you don't and are able to make an adjustment, that's, I'll say, the 2nd stage. And the 3rd stage is, even if you don't realize you made a mistake, you get to the point where if it hits the wrong part of your hand, for me, normally this area is the danger zone, because it'll slip right through. When I feel it around there, I can drop my hand and react to it and catch it down low and recover from that, which for most of my long runs, it involves at least a couple of those kinds of recoveries.
That's interesting. Cool. All right, so how long have you been juggling?
I've been juggling more than a cascade for about 10 years.
Okay. What was the catalyst for you to start juggling? What inspired you to juggle the first time?
Well, the very first time I was bored at a tennis camp, and there's no shortage of balls to juggle there. So my coach, or one of them, said, "Hey, do you want to learn how to juggle?" And I was just sitting around, so I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And so yeah, I learned how to juggle 3 balls, and I thought that was it. I'd always seen juggling, but thought, okay, 3 balls in a cascade pattern, that's probably everything you can do. Somehow I didn't even think of 2 in one hand or more than 3 balls. I don't know. And then in high school, actually in grade 10, a friend of mine came up to me and said, "Mike, you look like someone who knows how to juggle. Do you want to start a club with me?"
That's awesome.
And yeah, I've never really figured out if that was a compliment or an insult or what was going on or how that even looks, but we started a juggling club together. So yeah, it took off from there. And he still juggles too. He's pretty good.
So this person walked up to you randomly?
Well, he was a friend of mine, but he didn't know I could juggle, because after I learned 3 balls, I never really juggled again, because what was the point? I knew it all.
Right. That's funny. So you started juggling. I want to ask about this tennis camp. So why were you bored at a tennis camp? You were just that good?
Well, it was during a tournament, and there were not enough courts for everybody to be playing, so it was in between matches. Okay. All
right, cool. So kind of what's your journey with juggling? You started as, this kid at a tennis camp, then in college you started a club, and then it just kept going?
Kind of, yeah. In high school, for those remaining 3 years that I had in high school, I don't know, we had a club, but it was kind of the blind leading the blind. I mean, we watched some videos. Some of us were enamored by Jason Garfield and WJF, and some of us went, 360s, who cares about those? Which was nice, because we had some diversity in tastes, and yeah, it wasn't a great learning environment. I kind of had best juggler you know syndrome, which means it's not as easy to learn as when you're training with really good jugglers.
Right.
Which actually, when I got to university, I met my girlfriend through juggling, and she was way, way, way better than I was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had a shaky 5-ball. I could run it for maybe 20 seconds or so, and she was doing 7-4-4. She was doing. She was mostly a club juggler, actually. She does 5-3 with 5s as back crosses. So, like, she was really good at the time, and I improved much more rapidly after that point.
Yeah, that makes sense. So would you say your girlfriend was your biggest inspiration to juggle?
At the time, for sure. Like, in the first, especially couple years of university, I was really training to catch up to her. I learned how to run 7-4-4 for over a minute the summer after I met her, and that was probably well beyond my skill level compared to the other stuff, because she liked that side swap, and I wasn't dating her at the time, so I had to impress her. And
it worked.
Yeah, so yeah, it eventually worked.
She would probably say it wasn't that.
Yeah, you're probably right. But yeah, so she was a real motivating factor for a couple years, especially because I had gone to a couple conventions and festivals in that time, but they were all local and fairly small. So it was nice to have someone who I could actually train with and who could help me learn all these new things.
Mm-hmm. What juggler would you say you looked up to the most?
Now or ever?
Well, both, and maybe in the beginning and now.
Okay, in the beginning, it was kind of hard to say in the beginning because I really was a jack of all trades. I mean, now I'm mostly known for 3-ball stuff and some 4-ball stuff. But at the beginning, like, I trained sight swap, I trained clubs, rings, balls, Diabolo. So I did a lot of that stuff. I was really impressed with Falco Scheffler's physical limits of 3- and 4-ball videos. That was really cool. And that might have been what started me on boxes. I don't really know what started me on boxes. So yeah, maybe Falco Scheffler early on, but also Jason Garfield, Thomas Deitz, Doug Sayers, those kinds of people. Mm-hmm. I didn't watch a lot of videos in those first few years. Yeah. Jason Liu, he was really good and did a lot of 3-ball stuff. Now he does bigger numbers.
Okay.
At this point, probably 2 people I admire the most for their juggling are Michael Falkov and Murakami Tsubasa.
Okay.
Because both of them are real 3-ball legends. They're outrageously good.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So you were in a club. Oh, I was going to say, as far as watching videos go, I was thinking we're around the same age, so YouTube was just kind of starting to take off when we were in university. So in high school, that wouldn't have been as big of a thing. Now it's just kind of, you can look anybody up all the time, which is great.
Yeah, when I started juggling, like, you had to go to the IJDB and download videos and then watch them.
Okay.
And I didn't really understand how their search function worked, so I struggled with that when I was 15 or however old I was at the time.
Yep.
But yeah, YouTube has been a blessing.
Yeah, but as far as what I'm doing, it's hard because there's so much stuff out there. I've got like 30 videos flagged that I need to narrow down to 10 for this week, so that'll be fun. So who would you say has supported you and encouraged you to keep juggling the most through these years?
Let's see. It has, again, changed throughout the years. In early university, it was my now girlfriend. She's so nice, very supportive, and always willing to teach you something.
What's her name, by the way?
Emily Carlson. Yeah, so I'll refer to her as Emily now.
All right.
And then in 2011, that's when I met Michael Falkov and Dan Barron. For those of you who don't know Dan Barron, because he's kind of off the map, generally off the grid, I guess. He's probably the best juggler of 3-ball boxes and some 4-ball boxes in North America. Like he's up crazy good at boxes. So yeah, I met them at the same festival, and
Awesome.
They were my like motivation for a long time, because for a long time I was just trying to copy them and catch up to their level. And then when I got to the point where I could do things that were still interesting and different, and they started enjoying my videos as well as me enjoying their juggling, that was really cool. And that was a motivating factor for me for a while. I wanted to help, wanted to impress and give back to the people who had taught me some things.
Right.
And now I juggle for 2 groups. There's the people who really like 3-ball stuff, and my club here, actually. I've started to really like my juggling club here, so we try to run more events now, and I try to drag them out to festivals and conventions and help them navigate the juggling scene. And they're really great. It's fun to kind of mentor them.
Awesome. I was gonna say, I guess that being inspired to start doing box juggling has paid off recently, being featured in the IJA's Tricks of the Month video. So
yeah,
congrats on that.
Oh, thank you.
How would you say clubs have, what role have clubs, like as in people clubs, played in your development of juggling? Do you think that you needed the clubs to get where you're at right now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't have even started juggling or like gone more than a cascade without a juggling club. And at this point, I'd probably be self-sustaining because I'm in it deep enough that it's kind of hard to escape. But yeah, starting out, definitely needed a juggling club, needed that support network to teach me the basics, especially.
If it was your choice, would you juggle all the time? Would that be your full-time gig, if you could?
I wouldn't make it a full-time gig. I have kind of issues with juggling for money. Not because I think it's wrong or something, but there was a summer that I had a bunch of gigs lined up, and my fun practice time turned into practice time for doing these performances. And I don't so much like doing performance juggling that much, so it's almost like practicing something that's not juggling for me. I don't enjoy practicing for performances very much. With the exception of juggling with Emily, because I really enjoy doing strange passing patterns with her.
Okay.
And I get a kick out of that.
Yeah. So you don't particularly like putting on a show for people in general?
No.
And then there's also that everybody knows when your hobby becomes your job, it's not fun anymore, right?
Yeah, some people manage it really well, and some people really love performing, and that's great. I'm not one of those people. I really struggled with it. And I almost quit juggling at that point, but instead I quit performing.
Well, do you have any tips for people that are just starting, where should they start?
Oh, let's see. If you can get to a club, because they'll teach you everything, and 99% of the time, learning from a person is much easier than learning from a video or a book. My high school club was instrumental to getting me to learn the basics very quickly. If you can't get to a club, try to participate with the online juggling culture, and make a drive to a festival if you can, festival or convention. If you take part in online juggling culture, you'll make friends. When people are in your area of town, they'll probably come visit you, and that kind of social juggling is both useful to learn things, but also it keeps people interested. When the magic of juggling doesn't go on, at least with me, 24/7, and sometimes it's the community that keeps me in it.
Absolutely. And another question for those learning to juggle: how do they make time for it? Because it takes a long time.
You need to look at your daily schedule and really think about what you're doing, and is what you're doing worth the time. I mean, I have trouble with that. I'm on Reddit an awful lot. I'm on Juggling Edge, like practically every juggling social network I can find. And sometimes it gets too much, and I have to say, okay, you know what? I got to limit this to X number of days or X number of minutes per day.
Right, X number of days.
Yeah, and like when I came to university anyway, I stopped watching TV because it was expensive and I didn't really need it. Yeah, so think about what you're doing. Cut out the stuff that you don't need or don't even want. Like some of the stuff that I was doing, I didn't care at all if I did it or not. It was just habit. So got rid of that kind of stuff.
All right, so a few more questions. How have you seen juggling change your life for the better?
Oh, that's an interesting question. It's made me good at something. And I don't mean that in a, like, I was always bad at things. Like, I was always that person that, tried something. I was normally relatively successful at it because I had decent hand-eye coordination or a decent reflex time or things like that. But I never really got into it. Like, a lot of people probably have gone through school and they've never really applied themselves because they didn't find it interesting or fun or something like that. And with juggling, well, time to time anyway, sometimes I can't because of work, but it really lets me apply myself and give something a real best effort. And doing that with juggling, which I really enjoyed, allowed me to do that a little bit better in other aspects of my life, even if I didn't enjoy it as much. I can focus more on work, I can focus more on whatever else, because I've learned how to focus and I've gotten better at learning how to learn through juggling. So there's that, and also the juggling community has been very kind to me. They've helped a lot, both in terms of learning and in terms of being social.
Cool. And then the same question, a little bit different. How have you seen it impact others positively?
Well, sometimes I see these people with really obsessive personalities. And if they got hooked on juggling, that's one of the better obsessions you can have, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I was also one of those obsessive personalities. You don't want to know how many hours I put into online games like RuneScape and whatnot. It was horrible. And anyway.
I think a lot of us have gone through those times.
Yeah, so I've seen some people that were obsessed with something that was kind of questionable and kind of hurting them to being obsessed with juggling. And even if they move on to other obsessions, a member of our club actually got really good at juggling in a couple years, especially 360s, like nailing 5-up 360s every time in only a few years. And now he's completely quit juggling and gone to badminton and drumming. And that's cool, but I don't know. It hopefully helps to avoid other types of worse addictions.
Yeah, it's almost like an addiction, or can be.
And actually, you know what? There's one member in our juggling club I think she's very charming. We made a catalog of our jugglers and had a brief description of them that mostly they wrote. And she wrote something like, "I wouldn't have friends if it weren't for this juggling club." Which I kind of doubt that's true, because she's very nice and very social. But it was, I think it could be true for a few people, maybe including myself.
Oh, okay. What she meant is I wouldn't have these friends, probably.
Yeah.
All right, then a few quick questions to wrap it up. What's your favorite trick to do?
Oh, my favorite trick to do is probably, if it has to be a trick or a pattern, then I'll say blind behind the head. And I like doing that because it lets me watch what's going on. So I enjoy doing that at conventions and whatnot, because I don't have to focus on the balls. If it doesn't have to strictly be a pattern or something like that, I really enjoy just freestyling and flailing around and hoping the balls go in areas that are catchable. And sometimes that helps me to create new stuff, and sometimes it's just a bit of a mental break.
Yep. And you hope you don't swat the balls across the room and break the fish tank?
I typically don't worry about that kind of stuff. I practice in a big space at my university.
What's your favorite trick or pattern to see, to watch someone else do?
I like low number stuff, 3 or 4, 5 is okay. That is simple and really difficult. So when I saw, Haavard again doing every third throw of 5 balls behind the head, that was nuts. I really like 4-ball dots, where you keep 2 balls up here, 2 balls down here. Visually, it's even simpler than a 4-ball fountain, but it's extremely, extremely difficult. So I like that kind of thing.
I've never tried that. I think I might do that after this call.
Yeah, especially you can practice at 2 balls in one hand, and if you get it even shaky on both sides, then you can do that inline 3 pattern that's very popular in Japan these days.
All right. Favorite festival you've been to?
I think I've got to say IJA 2011. It was my first IJA. It was in a convention center, which was a little bit expensive, but extremely cool. And yeah, it was definitely the most influential one that I've been to, because it let me meet Dan Barron, Michael Falkov, and that changed my juggling since then. Yeah, and I was amazed by everything. It was my first really, really big festival, so enamored by it all.
All right, that's great. Favorite prop?
Balls. Easy.
I think we all do that.
Do I have to pick like types?
Well, I was going to ask your favorite brand or type to juggle with. Well, we do both.
Yeah. These days, I really like drop props, because in all the stuff that I've juggled between like Bag Lady and G-balls and whatnot, I feel that they have the most consistent throw. I don't think their catch is quite as easy. Since they're a fair bit lighter, they have a little tendency to bounce out of your hand, and I know that's what a lot of jugglers who juggle Russians tend to dislike. But I'm pretty good at catching, and the throwing is more important to me, so I'll take that trade-off. They're also machine washable, which is really nice.
That's great. All right, cool. So where can people find you, or if they want to check out your tricks?
I have a YouTube channel, Juggling Mike, that is where most of my stuff goes to. Occasionally on other YouTube channels. Oh yeah, I guess the IJA did a Tricks of the Month, and I'm pretty happy with the tricks in that video. Maybe less happy with kind of the tone and ambiance. I didn't quite hit that as well as I wanted to, but the patterns I think are really good. So IJA video for that. I have a bunch of videos that didn't quite make it on my Facebook. So if you are really excited about juggling, feel free to add me as a friend on Facebook. And if you want to talk to me about juggling, either Juggling Edge or Juggling Sub Reddit are the 2 best places to do that. If you're looking for more in-depth discussion, Object Episodes is another really good juggling forum, and you get some well-thought-out responses from there for sure.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll make sure that there's links to both those things in the video description. Is there anything you want to leave the audience or the people watching this video with?
I'll say if you're looking for direction in juggling, find someone whose juggling you really like and try to do what they're doing. Following people is probably easier than following juggling pathways, because there aren't really established juggling trees. And I've talked with a few people about making one of these juggling trees where it has all the prerequisites in different areas, but it's kind of an overwhelming task. So if you try to follow a person rather than a branch, you'll probably have more luck. And you get to talk with this person a lot, and they can, I'm sure, help you out.
All right, thanks for that. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed that video, and we'll see you next time.